Okay, so we are here with Christy SCOTCH, and I'm Shereen Fuqua with GumBits, and I just created my new program, GumBits Zoom Chatting. And I did that because so many people over the years have contacted me about different instances where the GumBits have helped them. And so I called you spur of the moment because I have this new speaker or microphone. And of course, I couldn't get it to work. So I called you, and I have not seen or talked to you in many, many years. And Christy, I met Christy at a Conrad Schumacher clinic. And you actually came to my farm, and I've known you, I think, since 2005. I'm not sure. But mainly, I just want to hear about you and how you got into horses and what you're doing. And since we last spoke live, you've done so much, and I really want to understand what it is you do now.
Okay.
I'm gonna fix my little screen here. Okay.
Well, I mean, I grew up riding horses, so I didn't have parents that were nearly as encouraging as y'all are with Kat, but we met. I think that I brought my horse to your farm when Kat was celebrating her first birthday. And that's when we kind of got to know each other. And that's kind of when I had started riding dressage a couple of years before that. Other than that, I did quarter horses and stuff. But yeah,
and there's nothing wrong with quarter horses.
No, it was a lot of fun. It taught me, a lot of different basic groundwork stuff. So a lot of people in my circle will get on a horse and they just get on the horse and let the horse walk off and they go, and that's fine. And I'm like, no, I want the horse to stand still until I get my stirrups, until I get my everything situated, and then they walk forward until I tell them. So, but that's just a different culture that we grew up in. So anyway, you're gonna have to direct me, Shereen, because I get off on tears.
Yes, we both get off on tangents. So what people don't know is you are now a trainer. And when I met you, you started riding with Conrad, and who, for anybody who doesn't know, you can say who he is, but he is a very, very influential German dressage instructor. And I don't know, I think maybe he was an Olympic coach. But he taught you, he didn't just teach you how to ride, he taught you how to train. And so I want to hear that chapter of how you became a professional, and maybe along the way, how you incorporated. You had sent me a note recently that you've been using GumBits since I produced it. So I'm kind of interested in your story and how the GumBits kind of helped you become a successful trainer.
Okay.
And you are in Alabama, by the way.
Yes, Podunk, Alabama. We do have dressage here too. Well, I mean, I first met Conrad. I'd seen him on TV, and I was like, on RFD TV, and I was like, oh my word, I've got to find out this guy. This is amazing. And I asked Darren for videos for Christmas of him teaching, and it had him doing young riders stuff. And I watched all the videos and was like, I want to ride with him. And I Googled his name, and I saw that he was teaching in Georgia, and I didn't know anything about dressage. My first horse show, I was reading a book, and I forget what book it is. I need to go back and look, but it was basically starting your horse off in dressage, basic groundwork or basics beginning. And so, like it said, like after 60 days, you should be ready to take your horse to a horse show. So I'm thinking, all right, horse show, let's look up horse shows. And oh, there's one in Mississippi. And so we had no trainer. We went to this horse show and we entered training level, and I had no idea about dressage braids or anything else. And I did the really small hunter braids, but I didn't sew them in, but it took me
Oh.
forever. And we showed and we ended up winning our class, and I had my farrier helping me out, and I texted him and I said, we won our class and we got score of X, and I don't remember what it was, but it was something I think in the 70s. And I was like, I don't even know if that's a good
Oh
score.
my
And
God.
he was like, yeah, that's a good score. So we showed that weekend and we won all of our classes, and we didn't know anybody there when we went, but Darren can talk to a rock. So he met some people from Tuscaloosa, and we kind of hung out with them and cheered for them. They cheered for us. And at the end of the weekend, they're like, okay, it's time for you to move up to first level. And I'm like, but this is my first show. What do you mean first level? I went home, and a couple of weeks later, I get in the mail this package from the Delta Dressage Association, and we won high score training level, high score adult amateur, high score,
Wow.
basically high score in the entire show. And I was going, yeah, I like this. I can get into this. This is my favorite. So that was my first experience with dressage, but I fell in love with it. And meeting Conrad was huge. And I told him when I met him, it was after this that I met him, and was like, when I got into the clinic, had no idea what it would cost. And I found out it was $300 per session to ride. And I'm going, okay, I had no truck, no trailer. I don't know how to afford this guy, but I'm going to figure out how to ride with him. So I started selling stuff on eBay. I started doing mystery shopping, and my husband started talking about, I'm going to come home and the TV is going to be gone. And I was thinking, I hadn't even thought about selling the TV. But I did not sell the TV, but I was able to go and ride with them, and they put me first to ride with them. And I was going, okay, great.
Oh my God, you didn't even have a chance to know what it was all about.
Exactly. And so he comes up, and I was like, it's such an honor to meet you, Mr. Schumacher. And he kind of had this look like, I've not really gotten this greeting before from people. And then he said, well, tell me about you and your horse. And I said, well, I'm a cowgirl. I grew up riding Western. I don't really know anything about dressage. And I find out later he's thinking in his head, oh my goodness, what do I do with this girl? How do I start? She knows nothing, and her horse knows nothing. The horse was training level, and she doesn't know anything, and she wants to train dressage, and she has no horse trainer. She has no truck, no trailer, nothing. But he told me the basics of dressage, how dressage was developed, and gave me the history of it, how warm bloods were developed. And I left that clinic with tons of stuff to
mind blowing.
Yes.
And I mean, it's military riding, right?
Exactly. But I loved all the precision. I loved the beauty of it, and I loved it. Made sense. The things that you do to get the horse to learn different things, it all was really logical, really, I don't know, it was just fun. So I was hooked, and I was like, I got to train with him more, but he's in Germany. So USDF, nobody gives out phone numbers for free, and nobody gives out phone numbers without permission. So I was like, is there any way I can get in touch with Conrad? And they're like, well, we can contact him and let him contact you if he wants to contact you, kind of thing. But they're not going to say that way. But it's basically like, we'll get in touch. Let him contact you. And so he faxed me. That's how he communicates. And he faxed and was like, I understand.
This was back in the old days when we didn't Google phone numbers.
Oh, no, I Googled then. He just doesn't do Google.
Oh, okay. Wow.
He doesn't do emails and stuff. He still does faxes. He handwrites out faxes. So I faxed him and was like, I've got to learn more. I need help, but I don't know what to do. And he was really gracious enough to, help me along as I saved money every time he came and tried to figure out how I could afford to come to clinics and stuff. And, my horse was a 4-year-old Oldenburg when I got her, and she had 3 weeks of training, and I knew how to break horses before because I grew up breaking horses and training horses, but I didn't know anything about dressage. But I guess through just all of the help that he gave me and the different, because he was able to look at a horse and rider and see exactly where they were, exactly what their strengths were, what their weaknesses were, and what they needed to do to get to the next step. That was a pretty unique quality that he has that not a lot of trainers have. And so he gave me so many exercises, and I'd watch everybody else ride and I'd see their exercises, and I took them home and I'd do those exercises, and I moved up and got a little bit of help along the way from other trainers. I was like, okay, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. And that's when I met you at your place when I brought Tess in to train at that time for a couple months. And I think he even came to your place while I was there, but
yeah, he did. He did. I got to ride with him a couple times. I rode with him at my farm. I rode with him at Poplar, and I got to ride with him in Kentucky. And Cat was, I had Cat by then, but we had a great trip in Kentucky. And yeah, I didn't keep up with my riding like you did, but he was really, really encouraging person to ride with. And now here you are, and you are training another horse to Grand Prix.
Yeah. So I trained Tess up to Grand Prix, and we basically 2007 got our bronze medal, 2009 got our silver medal, 2011 got our gold medal, all without a trainer or a truck or a trailer, having to borrow stuff along the way. And my husband lost his job in the meantime and was like, you need to sell your horse, and we need to get out of this. This is an investment.
Mhm.
And it's time for us to get our money out of our investment. And so we put her up for sale, and she never sold. And that's when you encouraged me. I went to Devon, and I had qualified. I did my first Prix St. George at Poplar Place and got like a 67 on the first day. And I was like, oh my goodness, that's a score good enough for Devon. And I was like, okay, I got to go to Devon. And I went and I texted you, and you're like, you just entered Prix St. George. Why didn't you do something else? Why didn't you do fourth level? So you actually were the one that encouraged me to do more than just Prix St. George. I did the fourth level, but those are whole different issues, or stories along the way. But we did have to get to the point where we sold Tess, and Darren was like, well, it's time to sell Tess, and why don't you bring along her baby in the meantime and have it as your next horse. So I had her baby that we had bred Tess to Royal Prince by Rodiamont, the one that's passed away now, that's
Yes,
was up at Hilltop. And I had Tess's baby did not have a lot of Tess's personality. She had, I think, a lot of Royal Prince, although I didn't know him very well, but she was a tooth grinder. And I met and learned about GumBits when I was at collecting gates with Tess. Tess never ground your teeth or anything, but y'all were gracious enough to give me some samples, and I was like, I'm going to go ahead and try this with her. And I gave them to her, and she liked them, and it was a fun treat to give her. So I enjoyed doing it. But it wasn't until I got Dory that I was like, okay, I gotta have these GumBits. I can't go without them, because she just got nervous and she would grind her teeth. And if I gave her a handful of them before I rode, and when I would tighten the girth, I'd give her a handful of GumBits as a treat, and she ate them, and then I'd ride her, and no grinding her teeth. And
I don't really know how to explain to people what that is all about. But I really think, in my experience, because we had a top horse and it wasn't really like they grind it. I think they get so focused in performing for the rider that they're concentrating. And it's just like with people, if you're concentrating, you're just kind of like, you're really focused on what you're doing, and you kind of hold your jaw. And so for you, the experience with the GumBits, how did that get your mare to release in the jaw?
Honestly, I mean, I think it was an ingenious concept because, I mean, as I understand it, everything was food grade. I mean, I ate some of them myself because I was like, okay, I want to see what this tastes like if I'm giving it to her. And I'm not that adventurous, I don't try that much, but it's got a waxy base to it. And when she chews it, it just kind of would loosen up the jaw. So she didn't clench the jaw when she got tense or nervous or anything. It was kind of like putting oil in a joint or something. It just lubricated the mouth a little bit. And I don't know, it was pretty
Well,
magical though.
I think it's not that magical, really. It's just like chewing gum. And so I tried to rebrand it chewing gum for horses, because if you chew, you start to salivate. And so it is just beeswax, FDA approved, and sugar is all it is. It's not a big secret. But it is kind of funny because I have all disciplines, all horses. And so this really nice lady with a wired Mustang called me about a month ago and interviewed me on a Zoom. And I thought, oh my God, this is it. This is a way I can get different people's stories out, because I do get to meet so many different people. And honestly, you reminded me of our time together, because I kind of forgot that I pushed you along, and it really makes me feel good that I made a difference in your horse career. So I love doing these Zoom chats. And so now you are bringing, is it Dara is the name of
Daria?
Daria? How old is Daria? It's interesting because you have two mares.
I had 3 mares. I love mares.
3 mares, yeah.
I'm a big fan of mares. They'll give you everything they've got and then some, but they will also, Conrad's always like, it must go that he says, yes, ma'am. And I'm like, well, the mare goes, yes, but I've got a better way of doing it, which is kind of like us. I mean, we women kind of were like, yeah, there's a good way to do it, but we can come up with a better way to do it.
Yes.
But yeah, I have Daria now. She also can be a little tense and she didn't necessarily grind her teeth, but she just got nervous and stuff. So I used GumBits always from the beginning with her, and she looks for them. I mean, if she's got some lips, she'll take your whole hand getting all of the GumBits.
Because I have a bag here, because they hear, whoops, they're coming out. They hear, and that's the other thing. People don't really understand what it is, but it's just like, like Red Hots when we were growing up. But I don't know, I'm probably older than you, but they hear the bag, and so they come out, because my daughter, is a big hunter jumper rider now, and they come out and they have their GumBits and they want to hear. And so for the hunters, they keep going in and they come out and they look for it and then they go back in. And I also had a lot of moms like in ponies tell me that, oh my God, the pony's spooky, or, they're worried for their child. And I've had at the pony ring, the moms or the trainers come get me, because the other interesting thing about the focus with the GumBits is when you're chewing like that, all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, you're not looking over there in the bushes or over there. And as an educated rider, as you are with your hands, they're chewing, so they're softer in your hands. And so for a young horse trainer too, all disciplines, it really helps young horse trainers to get them to focus and relax. And so it's really cool that not only are you now a Grand Prix rider trainer, but you're a horse trainer and a young horse trainer, which, oh gosh, I didn't grow up with horses, so that sounds a little frightening. But I think what is really interesting, I want to hear more about this obstacle challenge. And I don't know
Bye.
what that is. And you contacted me this summer. I was supposed to follow up with you, and I've been crazy busy. But I want to hear about the obstacle challenge. What is that?
Well, first of all, I got to say, when you were shaking around the GumBits, the other thing about that, you talked about spooky horses. The great thing, I love the bottle that it comes in now.
Oh,
Because,
yes.
horses do get spooky, and things that make them spook. If you try to get pictures and stuff, people will get bottles and they'll put rocks in it and they shake it around and get the horses to run. Okay, it's great for videos and stuff. It's great for, getting a really spectacular shot. But when your child's on a pony, you don't want the horse to do that.
No,
So
no.
so them associating that sound with actually getting treats is actually conditioning them to go, that sound doesn't scare me. So you may not get your great pictures when you're trying to video, but your horse is calm for your child riding or for whatever you're doing too.
See, I never knew that.
Yeah.
I love these conversations. I learned so much. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really
So
cool.
anyway, obstacle stuff, I love doing obstacles. I love having a well-rounded horse. I've always done trails. I've always ridden bareback too. Even on all of my Grand Prix horses, I've ridden bareback in the halter out in the fields and stuff. And Daria now, she got a disease in her eyes, actually both eyes, and she lost her sight in her left eye.
Wow.
She was able to keep the eye, thankfully, because I'm very vain. I really like the cosmetic look of not having a hole there if I can avoid it. But she learned, I taught her when I first got her, if she's scared of something, she had to go up and touch it. That was the rules. If she showed me any fear, she had to touch it. And then when she lost her sight in her left eye, she started turning and running again. So I made her go up and touch things again. And we just enjoyed doing that kind of stuff. And I started making her help me open gates because I'm lazy. I don't want to get off and open the gate and close the gate and then get back on. I want to be able to ride up to
For
it.
real, they could do that. Is that part of the course, or is it
yes.
a whole organized program?
Yes. And
kind of like the dog, they have like dog obstacle courses, right?
Yeah. This is more where the rider does it or they do it with the horse. So it's not as much the dog doing it separately, but I think it's kind of what I like more about it. But you have to think about it with the warm bloods. It's a lot harder when you're reaching down to open a gate that's at a person level. You got a lot longer reach down there to get to the gate. So the horse has to be able to let you reach down and move forward. And I don't know. I mean, but there were different things that you have to walk across. I liked walking in the water and stuff. And so in the obstacle challenges, they incorporate water, they incorporate like teeter-totter type things. And, just to have the kind of relationship with your horse where she'll take your trust or she'll trust you enough and she'll say, I'm gonna make you go over this thing.
Is this a big organization, an organized event? Is it around the country and do you get like ribbons and win? And
well, what I did was they have this obstacle challenge series, and this was before COVID. That was in Alabama that they had that. And it's kind of, a lot of trail people, a lot of people that have Mustangs. I was the only dressage horse for sure. And they also, now it's, I think, becoming a lot bigger. It's called working equitation. So that's the more formalized version of it, where you kind of do obstacle courses and they really look at the way the horse goes through the obstacle and the way the horse takes the obstacle and the way you handle it. And, it's judged similar, I guess, to dressage and
do they give you like a scorecard back on each kind of obstacle and how you did?
Yeah.
Can you get higher than 70? Because in the hunters, the scores are like, if you're lucky, you can hit 90.
Yeah.
I had to explain that to Kat. It's like, no, we don't. Dressage, no, they don't do 90s.
Yeah. Unfortunately, no. That's probably a little discouraging coming from hunters if you can get 90s. Yeah, you're usually, I mean, the scores I think run closer to the way that the scoring runs in dressage.
Okay.
a good score.
And
is-
where are they getting the judges from? Do they have like dog training background, or they're just horse people? And
I don't know enough about it, honestly, to know, because it was really, that was kind of my segue into doing Liberty, which has become my other passion besides dressage, is doing Liberty. And that's really where the horse basically gets to choose whether to work with you or not. And that's how I was, one of my biggest thing I learned with Dan James, who actually used to be in Chicago at, trying to think now, for some reason they just slipped my mind, but he was at a dressage facility, and I watched him do demonstrations, and he had Western quarter horses, and he was doing Monver, Travers, shoulder in, haunches in, and I was like, my word, this guy does dressage. And he did leg yields. He had his horse doing piaffe and flying changes, tempies. And I was like, I got to get to know this guy. I got to figure out where, Yvonne Bartow's place. Her and her husband, Kim, when they were still married, that's where he was. And that's where his kind of background, along with his Liberty background, he grew up in Australia.
I
so-
don't understand. What's Liberty? Is that like a name of a discipline, or it is? Okay, see.
Yes.
I
If
learned
you-
so much on these Zoom chats.
Yeah, and if you go, there's now an International Liberty Horse Association that I'm a part of, and I'm actually a judge now.
Oh yeah.
You have
That's
to
great.
go through training. And
I
get
think maybe I
training.
need to sponsor some little packages for the Liberty shows
do it.
and events.
You ought to. I mean, the horses, it's just like in hunter jumpers and dressage. You cannot have treats in the events, but people use treats in training all the time. And one of the hardest things to teach Daria was to teach her to lie down. And I think we talked about this, and I've never gotten a photographer to help me get a good picture, but I'm going to get a good picture of her lying down and giving her GumBits so that we can.
Oh, I would love that.
Because it was for her to understand the concept of actually going all the way down. She'd put her feet down and do like a downward dog situation and yoga. And she thought that's what she was supposed to do. And it took probably 6 months for her to actually learn, no, I want your butt down too.
Do you have a picture around your office of your horse?
I have pictures of her, but not at Liberty. I'm trying to think. They're only on my phone.
You
In
can
fact,
show us your phone.
I've got on my iPad. We
Now
just
see, what nobody knows is I called you like 5 minutes before we did this, because I got a new camera and I got a microphone, but apparently it's not working. And I'm getting ready to jump on a plane here in a minute. But I am doing these weekly Zoom chats on my GumBits Zoom chatting channel on YouTube. So super excited about it. And I just want to get the message out in a nice way, a fun way, not in a salesmanship kind of way. And Kat we got to get to Florida because my daughter Kat is you're not gonna believe this. Are you ready?
What?
Okay, I know I'm kind of like the prom mom, but she's gonna do her first I-1. So when you talk about how I encouraged you to move up the ranks, I kind of did the same with my daughter. It's kind of like, oh, and by the way, not only is she doing her first I-1, but she's doing it at Global in the open. Because my feeling is you really can't get better unless you ride with the best. I've always believed in that. And so she's always ridden with the best pony kids, the best hunters. The dressage kind of came around. She's only been doing dressage for less than 2 years. But because she has the basic training that we all talk about, the military riding, that she was able to pick it up pretty easily, and she loves the balance of it. But I think that the dressage makes her jumpers. She's only been doing jumpers for barely a year, and she's doing meter 30. But I believe that the hunters really taught her track, strategy, discipline. I wouldn't say she's the fastest jumper, but she's very direct. And
Yeah.
so I'm having so much fun. But the one thing is, all of our horses chew on the GumBits for relaxation and softness. I will say that when we have horses coming in from Europe, they don't know what it is. They're like, well, they don't really know what any treats are so much, but usually they will eat a carrot. But it just takes a little while for them to kind of get used to, oh, what is this that you're trying to feed me? But so if anybody does happen to try the GumBits, just mix it with their favorite treat, or maybe some grain or something. But it's just, I think, because it's gummy and the beeswax, some people tell me it sticks on their horse's teeth, so they start to do like that. And I know you said you ate it. I used to have the pony kids. I would give them some to try, and I come back and they'd be like, no, we didn't give it to our ponies, because they're sitting there eating it themselves. And funny story, Rodrigo Pessoa, I met because I bought a ride for Kat. She was so intimidated. She didn't want to ride with him. She was so scared. But he's actually a really, really nice guy. So I did the same thing. I brought him some GumBits, gave him, well, at the time it was bag, and said, because he really uses a lot of sugar cubes for his horses, he told me. And so I gave it to him, and then I saw him at the horse show like a week later. And I was like, hey, Rodrigo, what'd you think of the GumBits? He's like, I don't really know, because I ate the bag. It's like, okay.
That's expensive candy.
I know. Well, he's a funny guy. He's really helped us along the way. Super nice, kind of like Conrad's kind of taking you under his wing. He did introduce us to Kat's really top trainer, Jimmy Toronto. And Jimmy always gives me a hard time. He's like, when are you gonna give me GumBits? But anyways, I have had so much fun talking to you, and I've learned so much. And wow, you've done, I mean, what you've done. You grew up riding quarter horses, training, gone through some difficult times. And that's really the theme that I find with people, and the love for their horses is they're very passionate with their animals, and you stuck to it, and you excelled, and you're doing 2 other disciplines. You're a judge, you're a trainer, horse trainer. I assume you're training some people around Birmingham, and you're in the office working.
I know. But I got to show, I did find a picture at the Equine Affaire. I don't know if you can see.
Oh, wow.
Bridleless and bareback are
Wow.
So
what is that like what is the red thing?
The red thing is a garocha. They use that in working equitation.
And that's you?
Yes.
Oh my God.
That is
I gotta show Kat. That's awesome.
And I've got one other that I think is pretty cool, when you can't see me very well, but it's a cool picture of her rearing up. There it is. I taught her the rear, and yes, I know.
Oh my God. Now wait, okay, is this the second discipline? Is this Liberty?
This is Liberty, yes.
Wow.
So I've taught her, she does not rear when I'm on her back, ever. If ever you see a picture of somebody rearing, of a horse rearing, it's not because someone on the back has pulled them up. It's because somebody on the ground has given them the cue. And I just have a cue where I'll just put a whip up and she just, of course, that's her good eye, so she can see, and she just rears up and she loves it.
That's
We're going
so
to be at
amazing.
Equine Affaire in April. I need to take some GumBits with me there because we're going to do the Invitational Liberty Challenge and do our Zorro routine. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it.
Where is that?
This one was up in Massachusetts, and they have one in Ohio as well. So we'll be in Ohio.
Is that at Robbie Roberts' event?
I'm not
You know, his big, I don't know the name. He did the Ocala. He built the Ocala. WEC, World Equestrian
Oh.
Center.
I'm not sure.
Is
I
it
know
there?
it's just a place. I haven't looked to see where it is. All I know is Equine Affaire is always in Ohio and Massachusetts. They have 2 a year. And I'm looking forward to seeing where it is. I haven't even actually visited WEC yet, and I've been dying to. So I need to.
Well, I want, as a follow-up, I told you this will only be 10, 15 minutes, but I lied. I want, as a follow-up, I want some videos. Send me some videos. Send me some photos. And I owe you some GumBits for the places where you're judging. I would love to get that out. And
Yeah.
thank you. And you look wonderful.
Thank you, Shereen. You look great too. It's so good to reconnect with you.
I will see you soon. Do you come to Atlanta much?
I actually do once a month, actually.
Okay, well, you need to come see me.
But you travel so much, a lot of times you're not.
I know, I'm never here. I'm never here. Well, thank you, and I will talk to you soon. It's
Yes,
been
good luck
so
to Kat.
lovely. Thank
Keep me
you.
posted
I'll
on
talk
how
to you
it does.
soon. Bye.
Okay, bye.
I love GumBits because it helps so much with the horse's acceptance of the bit and the bridle for not only the dressage but the jumping as well. My horse Rascal at the time was always chewing on the bridle and chewing the bit, and so I would give it to him every day at home before I put the bridle on, and it really calmed him down and got him to stop chomping on the bit so hard. I use GumBits because it makes the horses so much happier in the mouth and the bridle.